Hi, it's Cal here from Adventure the Riders, and today's vlog is around planning for your trip. Now this isn't planning a trip in terms of where you're going to stay, the area you're going to visit, campsites and that kind of thing. I'll cover that in a different vlog. This is about when you've got a trip and you're about to go on it, what planning do you need to do to make it as successful as possible? I think there's three key areas personally that it's important you consider and think about spending a little bit of time ahead of your trip planning. Don't get me wrong, I've had my times when I've literally shoved stuff in a bag and gone off on a weekend camping, but I can guarantee I've forgotten to take stuff with me or I've had hiccups because of that preparation wasn't robust enough. So what do I think are my three main areas that I would plan for when I go away on a trip? Well, my first is packing. It's really important that I know what I need in terms of my personal clothing and belongings. I think menu planning is essential and helps you really target what you're buying and purchasing and makes your trip much more successful from that perspective. And I also think planning for any of the extra bits you need as part of your unit is so important. So let's cover each one of those in turn. So I'm going to start with menu planning. Now, as you know, when I go away with my cousin, and it's been in the other vlog, I take responsibility for maps and routes. I also take responsibility for lists, and I have loads of lists before we go away. Oh, you can see my tank freshener that's just arrived today. Basically, I love to make a list before we go. Now, I'm not quite in the same category as Make Way with the Morleys, who I was watching one of their vlogs on YouTube the other day, and I was so impressed that they have a laminated list of everything they need for their trips, and I'm envious of them, and I think that's what I'm going to aspire to. But I'm not quite there yet. We're still quite new in our, as we said in the story, getting back into caravanning and using our, not just the caravan that my cousin owns, but the folding camper that I have. So yeah, I'm aspiring to that. So menu planning, because cooking on my way is generally my realm. My cousin will do a bit, but it's my role. That's what I'm there for. So basically what I've done ahead of our trip is plan a simple menu. Now, I need to take into account the site we're going to. Now, where we're going on our holiday, we're going for 4 nights, Monday to Friday. And there's a restaurant we can go in to eat, and they also have a fish and chip takeaway on site that will be open, and those two facilities will be open every day that we're there. They won't be closed during our trip. Now, the next trip we go on, we don't have that luxury, and there's like a visiting fish and chip van and stuff like that. So the menu there is much more robust around planning for that kind of thing. But for this first trip, we don't have that problem. So I've specifically had a chat with my cousin, and we decided the kind of what we're doing. So from that perspective, we're gonna eat out or have takeaway for a couple of nights, and we're gonna eat at the caravan with our own kind of cooking on 2 nights, so that we've got a nice mix, because it is a holiday after all. However, we don't want to be tied into, well, we've definitely got to eat this on this night and we've got to eat out on that night, because we want to be a bit more flexible about how things are. So what we're going to do is take with us 2 meals that doesn't matter whether we have the Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night or Thursday night, they'll keep for the whole week. Now, we have gone on other trips, we've done things like taking a lasagna from home to just shove in the oven that we've made in advance, but the issue with that is sometimes there's a little bit of a ticking time bomb, because it needs to be cooked and eaten, or recooked in the case of lasagna, by a certain point. So I specifically plan the menu to be flexible around that, and that's important to understand what type of holiday you're on, because that's a really crucial part of your planning. And then I've used the menu to come up with my shopping list, so that I know what I need and the quantities. Now, the reason I do this is because we've gone on trips and we've literally gone to a supermarket and chucked stuff in the trolley. Now, as great as that sounds, it's really not, because we've literally ended up spending more than we would for a week at home when we're away for a weekend on groceries. I think famously, one weekend camping trip we went on, we went and shopped every day in the on-site shop for lunch, and we must have spent 70 quid alone just on like 3 lunches, purchasing it in the on-site shop. That is ridiculous. Now, I'm not saying don't use the on-site shops at campsites. However, I'm not happy sometimes about paying the prices. If I go into an on-site shop that's selling local produce from, that's really good quality, I'm happy to pay a bit extra for it. I covered this in my Hamesy video. They had some really great fresh meats from local providers. I absolutely love that kind of thing. I'm really up for supporting local people in those kind of efforts. So I'd absolutely buy those kind of things. But if I'm going to a more commercial site where it's a more of a chain kind of feel to it, and I know that actually I'm getting probably poorer quality goods than I would in the supermarket, yet I'm paying twice or 3 times as much for it, I have an issue with that. And it's not about being frugal, it's about, I just don't like that. So that's why I like to plan ahead, and actually sometimes prefer just to go to my local supermarket and do the shopping in advance, get the dry goods stored away in the caravan, take the fresh stuff in a cooler box on the day, and great, and I'm happy with that, and it doesn't bother me. We're going Monday to Friday, I'm going to use the Sunday for that. So the next thing I said about that's important is packing. So I'm going to cover packing in a bit more detail because I've got some ingenious ideas about how I'm going to do my packing this time, and I'm going to share it with you ahead of my trip. But what suffice to say is that I think it's really important that you do plan what you pack, because if you're like me, I am terrible and I forget something. Sort of famously on one trip forgot to take any top. I literally only had 2 tops, and when it got wet on the beach one day, so like was down to 1 top, and it was really awful. So or I forgot bits, and so it's really important to kind of go through and be really sure that you're packing the right things for your trip and you've got everything you need. And the final thing is of course around, is there anything you need for your touring units? That's really important, and this is especially important on this trip because it's our first trip of the season. Now we got the caravan out last weekend. I got and helped my cousin clean it and that kind of thing. One of the things she identified as needing to do was to sterilise her water system. Now, we were all ready to do that, and we realised that she needed to actually get a new filter. So she hoped her filter was one where you could take it apart to put a replacement middle section, and it wasn't. So she's had to go and purchase a new filter, and that's going to mean we're not going to have the opportunity ahead of our trip to do the water sterilisation. So that's no problem, because with a flexible approach, we're going to do that when we get to the campsite. It's not not a huge issue. It's not ideal, but it's equally not the end of the world. So that's what we're going to do. So what's really important is that she's worked out what she needs exactly to do that job, and making sure that she's got that on board. And again, because it's the first trip, we've done the whole kind of those big prep items around checking the tyre pressures on the caravan, giving it a good clean, checking that the tow hitch is in good condition, the lights and all those kind of things. And so it's really ready for the trip. But what we also need to do are those other kind of things, because it's been a while since we've packed and we've moved stuff over the winter, making sure the nose weight's okay and all those kind of things. So we've got ourselves a little checklist. So that Monday morning when we're loading up the final bits, intentions on the Sunday to load up some of the bits, and then on the Monday itself did the last minute bits to do all those kind of things. So we've got a little list just to remind us of all the things we've got to do. As I said before, I love a list and I find it really therapeutic. I am the person that will wake up at sort of 3 in the morning thinking, oh, I haven't got this. So I always keep just ahead of a trip somewhere near to the bed where I can jot those things down, because then it's kind of out of my mind and I can look at it at the right time in daylight. I know it sounds like I'm going on and on, but it's really important to prepare. You wouldn't necessarily, especially if you're towing a caravan, just jump in the car and drive somewhere hoping that the roads are suitable and you don't come across any low bridges. You just don't do that. And so from that point of view, it's really important that you think about some of the other things around a trip, such as planning a menu, what to pack, and anything specific for prepping for your trip with your units, because that's what's going to keep you safe, and it's also what's going to make sure that you have a really good holiday, because you've thought of all that stuff in advance, you've covered it, and you know where you are with it. Well, I'm not going to go on about that any longer, other than that's my huge recommendation about preparing to go away. In the meantime, hope you're enjoying the vlogs. Please pop some comments, like the videos, and subscribe to the channel. See you soon. Bye.